tell you what, I saw a woman riding, it was a mother, and then her daughter was like side saddle, and on the back was her son holding the youngest one. I was just, and the one daughter was holding the groceries. I was like, wow.
So the best one I saw was this lady. She had a aquarium, full of aquarium, full of water, full of fish. She was holding an aquarium like this and riding like this, and the water would no water spilled, no water spilled.
Man, yeah, that's really something. I mean, the world's a big place. Like the world and the people in it. My grandma used to say it takes all kinds.
Yeah, and it's so safe over there. Like every time they were out drinking somewhere, 3 in the morning, like, yeah, if I was in the States, I'd probably be fucked right now.
I tell you what really surprised me when I went to Dubai. I was so surprised how those folks in Dubai were looking out for me.
Yeah.
I mean, they would. I remember this one time. I had here's a fun little story. When I was at Miston Labs in SWE, we were doing this event in Dubai for this blockchain summit and all that, and we had there's a group of partnership we were doing there out of Dubai who of course had ties to these like very wealthy families. Well, their family, the folks sponsoring us and doing the partnership with us in our ecosystem, they own the hotel we were staying in. And it also had a karaoke club, a nightclub, and all that. And for one of our closing parties, we had like a little VIP section, and like they had the singers, the dancers, all this stuff. And our VIP section had an imported beer, which was Budweiser, because it's Dubai, right? And so I wanted to get a Stella, and so I went over to the bar. And it was loud, and we're yelling over people and all that. And so this one European man had gone in front of me, and he ordered, his Heineken and all that. And I went to go order my Stella, and they said, "Oh, okay. Do you want us to put it in U.S. currency or local currency? Because there's a bank fee, a transaction fee." And I was like, "Oh, you can put it in U.S. currency." I mostly did it because even though I told my bank I was traveling, the fraud alerts go crazy, right? Well, this young woman, after I had done that, she goes, excuse me. She says, "I noticed that you let them charge you in U.S. currency." I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, never do that, especially here." She goes, "It's always cheap." Now, mind you, she didn't stop that European guy. She stopped me like, "Oh no, you want to do it like that." And then somehow later that night, me and some of the Miston team, we ended up partying with CZ and the VIP. He came by our party.
Nice.
Still got some of the pictures from that. That was fun.
Cool. What's the country you haven't been to yet that you want to go to?
I gotta pick just one.
Yeah.
Italy.
Italy? You haven't been to Italy yet?
I haven't been to Italy.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I was right there. I was in Greece, and I didn't go to Italy. Oh, it was hot in Greece, though. Had my first heat stroke in Greece.
So when I was on, we were in Italy for 2 years. Yeah, you have to go to Italy.
Yeah, and that's why I said that.
So my choice is that kind of weird. I want to go to Norway for some reason.
Oh, Norway would be awesome.
I have no clue why. Like, I don't really like cold weather like that, Maybe it's the Northern Lights. I don't know. That's Norway's like stuck in my mind.
I've always wanted to go to places like Norway and certain places in Germany. I studied German in high school and everything, but once people told me that the storybook imagery was based off of Stuttgart and Munich and Köln and like some of those places in Norway, I was just like, or just across Europe, I was just like, well, I got to see where the fairy tale valleys and mountains and the hills are alive with the sound of music. I want to see that, or even like New Zealand, right? Like Hobbiton. I want to go to Hobbiton in New Zealand, the Shire.
Yeah, I haven't been to South America. For some reason, I really have no desire to go to South America. I've never been to the Caribbean. It doesn't like do anything for me, I guess,
I went to Jamaica. It was really nice. I'd love to go to the Dominican Republic. I went to Brazil. I went to Sao Paulo. There's some really there's definitely more places I still want to go. I want to go to Belize.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just looks really beautiful. Now I got to get over my thing about bugs if I'm really gonna enjoy Belize.
Yeah. Cool. Any more questions?
No.
Cool.
That's it. That was so fun.
How can people reach out to you?
Oh yeah, you can just find me on LinkedIn, look up Barklow. We have a submission form on our website, which is about to get an update. We're going to have a bit more of a specific form to kind of funnel people into what they're interested in our ecosystem. So we're barklow.ventures. You could just look up Barklow, Barclo on LinkedIn, or I'm on LinkedIn as Sierra C. And yeah.
And so how much time do you think, generally talking, like how much time do you think y'all spend on, like putting your name out there versus actually building what you're doing versus like researching companies? Is like a template for that?
Not yet, because in the first 6 months, well, because I think there's another slice to add into it, which is, how do I know all this stuff I told you that I'm learning about with quantum?
You put the link in the back of your neck back here, the matrix thing.
Yeah. And Bernardo's like Morpheus, and
Yeah.
I say, I know trapped ion
Yes,
compute. And he says,
exactly.
show me. And
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of time spent just like working up the learning curve, and not just for ourselves, but we're kind of like, the thing about doing anything futuristic is you kind of have to be this interlocutor. You have to be this translator. So when we talk about future fluency, we have to understand the source material from these researchers, from the rocket scientists, from the clean room people, and be able to translate that in a way that like makes sense, isn't compelling and relevant for people. And that goes into like those LinkedIn posts you asked me about. That goes into the way you can ask me these questions on the spot, and I still have all this stuff to learn. I'm sure you might get comments on these like, that's not exactly how trapped ion superconductivity. Like, oh, okay, I know. But that's, next week they're gonna ask me about it, and I think that's the thing. It's like I always have to be kind of prepared for that, but also just kind of stay on my learning path. So that's another slice I would add into it, because if you can't do that, then you can't connect with the companies. Then like you can't like really get your name out there and articulate what you're about, and then you can't answer people's questions, valid questions about whether you're an investor, whether you're just an innovator, you're a cybersecurity person, but like you're in the SOC and you're like, I kind of hear about this Q-Day thing, I don't know what that means. We have to be able to each one reach one, but also give them entry points into this sort of thing.
So let me ask you this, right? So you said this quantum can deal with everything, right? What if someone came to you and said, like, hey, I want to do a quantum farming business? How do you think that would work?
Well, the question is are they going to use it? Are they looking for compute, sensing, communications, or simulations, right? And will it be quantum native per se, or is it quantum enabled? And like, where does it have that RWA, real world asset?
And so suppose I came to, I said, I want to build and you ask some of the questions, and you see my face like this, like a dead zone, right? Does that mean you tell you, okay, this guy isn't ready for me yet, or like?
Well, yeah, I would say like, what, I would ask a lot of questions, right? Like that kind of thing I walk through. It's just like, tell me what you're envisioning for that, right? Where did your idea come from? Because it's funny you say that about farms. There's this amazing startup called Carbon Robotics, and there was a guy who was not in agriculture or anything, and him and his buddy Shay, he's a farmer, and he's like, Shay's like, hey man, we're still having all these problems pulling weeds, and he goes, you ever think about strapping a laser to the tractors and zapping them? And that's literally what their startup does, and it's amazing. Shout out Paul and Shay. Like, it's brilliant. So that's why I would never discount an idea, because a guy like Paul comes to a farmer like Shay and is like, we need to zap the weeds with lasers on the tractor, and he's like, bet. And they're doing great, so that's why I wouldn't count it out.
Now that's some Rick and Morty shit right there. That's some shit Rick Sanchez would do.
Yeah, I mean, there's this idea of new ways of doing old things. So that's why I would be very open. I would just ask like a series of questions to kind of understand how much they thought about it, and, why quantum and not just AI, or is it hybrid, or like where would the compute piece come? Or, some stuff is, one thing I hear people say a lot to me, and this gets back into like filling them in on what else is in the world. They'll be like, man, it must still be so hard working on stuff that nobody has figured out. And I'm just like, no, like people do have it figured out. We just don't have people using it and putting companies around it here. Like, IonQ isn't like this big, like I said, this goes back to can people hear themselves? Because to be like, none of this is real and it's all hype, it's like, so what, the US Patent Office is just passing out cotton candy? Like all these people's life's work is like trash? Like I need to call the particle accelerator people and say, shut it down? I mean, like, what do you mean?
So you say the U.S. is like the number one quantum country right now?
Oh, no.
Who's number one?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think most people say it's like it's between us and China for the number one AI country.
Ooh, I'm not even sure about that.
No, I think it's China, I think it's somewhere else.
I mean, I think that's what's hard is like, so you having companies that are making a ton of money on a technology, and then you having technology that is like faster, cheaper, integrated, etc. I think those are two different metrics, right? Because you can say like the US is killing it on AI because we have all these startups, we have OpenAI, we have Microsoft. That's actually not the same metric. And this is what I mean by us being so like coin operated, right? We're like, follow the money. If we're making all the money, then that means we're on top. But money, like right now, in kind of this gold rush in AI, is not the same thing as capability, scale, sustainability, like etc. Right? So I won't comment on like, you know, who's in charge or who's on top or whatever with AI. But I will say like with quantum, I mean, I'll just quote what Nardo said, you know, this week at the regional economic conference. He's like, hey guys, the latest tranche of funding for China for not just quantum but emerging and future tech to integrate it and be Q Day ready and all that, $138 billion. The U.S. had $2 billion that they earmarked for this, and now, from what I hear, some of its disbursement is in question because it was $2 billion over however many years, and we're in the middle of those years. And I know some folks in Montana and all that are trying to work through that. But from a scoreboard perspective, points on the board, $2 billion with an asterisk and 138.
Just a little difference.
Yeah, 2 to 138 is like
a little discrepancy right there.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you again real fast. Anything else you want to talk about? Or anything else I would ask you?
No, this
Cool.
was so fun.
You'll give you searching meter. So last thing, give us any advice and wisdom or anything you want to talk about.
Fear is always an option, but it is never the answer. Uncertainty is scary. The future is scary. You can't see around a corner. You never have been able to. Okay? There does come a point where the doom scrolling and the messages and all that stuff out there really start tainting your view of possibility of the future. I encourage everybody to get out of like the fear, overwhelm, doom loop and get back into their curiosity, get back into their wonder, get back into their fun, get back into their research. Because even if you are right about everything being horrible, at least create your own glimmers, at least create your own bright spots. Don't just spiral, don't just accept all of this like difficulty and challenge as impossibility. Dare to believe that there is something that can be done more than you just clocking out and checking out because everything feels so big and scary. Like find your people, like find people who want to keep their heads above the water, and find people who like want to hope and want to build and want to believe, and do something with that at the local level. Like whatever it is that you can do, you're worried about what's happening with food insecurity, you know, go to Costco, grab some diaper packs, grab some applesauce, go to the food bank. Me and my daughter do that. There's always something that you can do. Never let anybody tell you that because the thing that they're working on is big and scary and bad, that your dreams, your family, your gifts, your skills have no place in this world, because it's just not true.
Sierra, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.